the Auburn Blitz Podcast, your direct source for all Auburn all the time with Brett Pritchard, Faith Richardson, and Randy Lee.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Blitz Podcast here on a Monday morning. We're glad that you've joined us wherever and whenever it is that you join us here on the Auburn Blitz and making Auburn Blitz part of your daily Auburn athletic intake. Brett and Faith here on Game Week Monday, and it's a short game week because we play on Friday. So it's a lot of smiles, a lot of angst, a lot of anticipation, whatever other words you want to throw out there for everybody. But we're just glad it's here. We've already got some high school football under our belt, so that's good. That kind of helped ease it a little bit. But we're into college now, and man, I'm excited, ready to go. Hope Auburn's ready to go, Faith. That's all I can say.
Amen. I've been asked so many times this weekend about just how excited I am and how ready we are for Auburn football to finally make its season opening debut at Baylor. And I know that we're more than ready for it to go ahead and get kicked off, but are the Auburn Tigers
up to the challenge?
Honestly, TBD at this point where we're headed.
Yeah, I mean, we'll know more Friday for sure. That's the beauty of it. We have one opportunity to watch practice this week, and that's tomorrow. So we'll be there for that. Coach Free's press conference today. I'll be at that this afternoon. So we'll give everybody a look at that. But I'm telling you, just excited for the opportunity and what we will talk about. Jason Cwell, by the way, will be on with us around 8:35. He normally would be on with us around 8, but had to bump it back 30 minutes. But, I think, at the bottom on the screen, too much pressure is that the one thing you don't want to have happen is our guys to have heard everything all of us have said for 3 months and all of the national media and all playing this game up to be so monumental as far as driving where the season will go, although we know it will have a big indicator that it gets to the point where they can't go out and just play up to their caliber and they're thinking too much and they're trying to be too perfect because you're going to make mistakes in the first game. Baylor's going to make mistakes, but you want to be able to get out there once the butterflies settle down after the first 5 minutes and just line up and see who's the better team. And I think on the roster, Auburn is the better team. We've talked that till we're all blue in the face, but you gotta go prove it. And so has this coaching staff, this team come together to the point where they're fluid and all season preparation and the things that they needed to do to go out and put the product on the field that we've all been looking for? That's the biggest question.
Right, you just talked about how the first game means there are going to be mistakes to some extent, and there are going to be different things that, each team is working through. And we saw that on Friday night at our high school football season opener. And you saw that there were a few miscommunications and a few mistakes on both sides of the ball. And that is something that at the college level, you don't have those same fundamental mistakes that you have at high school. But
right,
when we did see a few of the miscommunications or the misreads when it came to the quarterbacks and the receivers on Friday night, that's something that Auburn cannot be having those kind of mistakes against Baylor. And I know we're going to get into our receiver and their DB matchup later on, but that's something that we really have to make sure that, especially moving forward, Auburn cannot have that miscommunication and that misalignment between the two.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good place to start. Those are the things you have to have buttoned up and probably be a little bit further down the line that you would like to be at this point in time going into the season is from a chemistry standpoint. That's why Jackson Arnold chose to stay back and work through drills one-on-one with receivers instead of going to the Manning Passing Academy and doing some things. He answered all those questions and, to try to make up for, lost time because he had just arrived as a transfer and he wanted to use every opportunity he could outside of when practice started to try to get on the same page with these receivers because we know that's the biggest matchup that everybody's going to be watching. It's going to be the hype around this wide receiver core for Auburn. That's all we've heard since spring practice, really before spring practice, is does Auburn perhaps maybe have the best wide receiver room top to bottom, even with Ohio State and Alabama and some of the other programs that have been talked about. I definitely think Auburn's a top 3 wide receiver room. Now, again, wide receivers have to get the ball from the quarterback, and it has to be on time, and things have to mesh. And in the scrimmages, the things that have concerned people are that. We don't see a lot of the RPO stuff in scrimmages or in team practice because they're working on other things. So, it'll be dependent on how Baylor defends Auburn. Look, I think the worst nightmare for them is to put too many down in the box, and I don't think that'll happen early. But if Auburn can run the football to a certain degree, they'll have to start honoring that, which will open up even more for these wide receivers. I'm not saying that our wide receivers just can't beat them straight up if they put extra guys in the secondary, but I'm saying that if you can run the ball, that makes it even more difficult. This is a Baylor defense. I don't care what anybody says. There's no magic wand to come in and fix all the L's that they had on defense last year. They gave up a boatload of points, and with Auburn's wide receivers, there is going to be a lot of opportunities to get over the top of this defense or take what Baylor is giving you underneath and death by 1,000 paper cuts. Faith, it doesn't matter how you get there. When you get down the field, but if you have to do it that way, get in the red zone and actually score, because that was one of the 3 things Coach Freeze talked about in media days that we were not very good at is red zone efficiency. And you can go back and look. I know everybody talks about McPherson being out and all that. The excuses are over this year. You got to execute, got to get in the end zone. So that's kind of my analysis of that early. We'll dive into it a little bit more deep. But, Jackson Arnold, you and I talked about it, is best when he's reacting. And then the RPO game, if they're backing everybody out and there's a lot of underneath stuff, he should be reading that pretty easy. These should be some easy throws for him to get kind of into the flow of the game.
If you could have in a perfect world Jackson Arnold magically before this first game overcome and gain confidence in one specific area, where would it be?
On a drop back, make a read, release the football, and quit worrying about making the absolute perfect throw like we've seen him do in practice. That's why the window closes. Now, again, he's going against elite DBs in practice. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You've got to build the confidence back up and quit worrying about, am I going to make a mistake here? You don't want him to come in there and gunsling it and throw 3 picks. I'm not saying that. But he has to be able to make some throws, because if he proves that he can't, then that makes things a little bit easier on all opposing defenses moving forward, because you become predictable at that point. And so trust your receivers. Trust them. That's why you stayed back during the summer. Trust them. Know that they can make the plays. Know that they can run the routes. You're going to have 3 starting elite receivers. The whole room, Horatio Fields, Sam Turner, I can keep going down the list. But Malcolm Simmons, Eric Singleton, and Cam Coleman, there's not a college in this country that's going to run 3 of that caliber out there at the same time. I know Ohio State, yeah, they can probably argue a little bit, but I'm not questioning that Jeremiah Smith's the best receiver in the country. I think we all know that. But Cam Coleman's either 2 or 3, and I think Ryan Williams is the other one. And then, but Eric Singleton and Malcolm Simmons, that's what makes the wide receiver group that goes out there on the first team different from everybody else.
So deep in all different areas of the field that you see all of them. Yeah, I don't think where I've seen nearly as much of him being able to drop back in practice and execute a perfect throw. I don't think I've seen as much of that maybe as you have. I think maybe a few of the practices that I went to and you weren't there were definitely some of the harder practices for him, and had we've all seen some of the videos and stuff from practices, but definitely a few of the harder ones. And that is where we've seen in the past Auburn just been able to blow themselves out in games, right, because they struggle in that area.
Nice 18-wheeler coming by. Tubbs, we'll get to some of these comments. Tubbs, Tiger, we appreciate it. Appreciate the comments on Saturday. Yeah, I felt like, it was a good game. Appreciate the compliments on the call. Tubbs said, I watched most of the big-time games. Y'all's broadcast was the best by far, the only one with a sideline reporter. There you go. Y'all calling the game Thursday night, then traveling to Baylor? Yes, Kyle, we will be doing that. So,
quick turnaround.
Yeah, quick turnaround. I don't even know if you call that a turnaround. I think it just meshes right on into from one day to the next. So, yeah, looking forward to that, and going to be kind of that way all fall, especially for road games for Auburn. So, Justin said, don't know Jackson's escapability with plays being blown dead if a defender gets in the backfield, talking about from the scrimmage and stuff. Again, you can't get a real true picture. I agree with that. And I think I've said it. Can't get a true picture of what you can do as a mobile quarterback until you get into real game situations. Because even in the scrimmage, they're blowing those plays dead. And Coach Freeze even said it in one of the pressers. He's like, yeah, you go back and look at film and go, yeah, he probably got out of that and made a play. So that's part of it, and that affects how a defense defends you, because now they got to honor the quarterback running in scrimmages and in practices. If you know they're going to blow the whistle, then you can probably do some things a little bit different to try to cause a little bit more pressure, not worry about him getting out of the pocket, because they're going to blow the play dead. But it's going to be live Friday, and so I think that's the best thing for Jackson Arnold's confidence is to quit. Let's quit analyzing scrimmages and practices. Let's do everything and get to the point on Friday that you can do in all these practices, and then go out there and get in a game. He needs to be in a real game and have some success early. That's what's going to help his confidence.
I think along with that, it's going to be him actually able to trust his own arm and knowing that what he's been able to do. Because when Coach Freeze talked earlier about Jackson Arnold and putting his faith into him about being the starting quarterback, he said, you go and you look at the film in high school and you look at the few games at Oklahoma, and he's got all that talent. But maybe last year is when some of his confidence got crushed, getting pulled out, and him being able to actually go ahead and trust the receiving core that he has out there, no matter who it is, being able to make some of those catches. He just, like you said, he needs to get in that place, but know that, Baylor, their defense is going to be hungry to go after him. They're going to see that he's not great when he drops back.
But if he can prove early that he can, then again, it'll change some things.
And especially if they've been watching and seeing what everybody here has been saying about how Jackson Arnold, he goes back and they've either called it dead or, he just takes too long to get the ball out of his hands. They're going to tell their defense that, and they're going to say, you got to go and put pressure on him, and he's not going to know what to do. He's going to freak out, and that's what's going to happen.
I think the offense will be designed to get him some early throws that are really not very risky to get him in the flow, right? And again, to run an RPO offense, you got to be able to run the ball. If you are struggling running the football, it really kills the RPO offense because really nobody's honoring that anymore, and they're really honing in on the passing game. And let me tell you, don't think for a second that Baylor's not concerned on the back end of the defense. They gave up a bunch of points. We're going to look at their depth chart here in just a minute, but just a quick glance at it. I mean, they're starting guys that were there last year, juniors and seniors. Did they miraculously just get 100% better? I'm sure they improved, but it's still the same group that's going to be starting that started last year for them. So do you feel confident that they're going to be able – now, all we've talked about is their receivers and our receivers. We haven't talked about their ability to cover our receivers. We've talked a little bit about our ability to cover theirs. But for the most part, that's what it's going to boil down to. We can talk about all this other stuff, but that's what it's going to boil down to for me. I think our lines of scrimmage, we're going to win the lines of scrimmage. We haven't been able to really say that very often over the last 3 or 4 years against teams that we felt like are comparable good opponents. I think we'll win the lines of scrimmage. So it comes down to execution. And so does Baylor feel like they have the talent in the secondary to run with these guys and make the plays? We've already seen what Malcolm Simmons and Cam Coleman can do against SEC teams. Now, last year, Cam Coleman he had some drops in some games. I mean, Malcolm, I thought maybe didn't play as much as he should have. He started playing more at the end of the year. But then Eric Singleton, you add him into the mix, and what kind of year he had at Georgia Tech is the number one wide receiver in the portal. I mean, I will just be completely shocked if our wide receiver core doesn't have a big night. I'm just saying.
I don't hope that that's going to be the case at all. But if they don't, it probably will go back to Jackson Arnold and what he was able to not do, I guess.
Right.
And again, we've talked about how our offensive line is supposed to be the most experienced group on this team. Are they going to be able to get Jackson Arnold either some time to make something happen before he gets, sacked in the back, or open up some holes so that we can run the ball?
I agree. I totally agree. Justin says 34. We got our first prediction. 34-27 Auburn. What is the tiebreaker? The tiebreaker is Jackson Arnold passing yards. Since that's all we talk about, why not set the first tiebreaker is total passing yards for Jackson Arnold? There you go. Well, we may put that in the comments every day, and we'll start logging these predictions. So, Justin, throw your total passing yards for Jackson Arnold out there. Again, we got new swag out there. I don't know what we'll give away for the person that it has the best prediction, the closest prediction. But we'll give some swag away for sure. So,
Brad, I'm really excited about that.
I am too.
I think this is going to be super fun.
I know it is, especially if we win every week. So got Clinton Barker, 34-17. Make sure you guys put your tiebreaker passing yards in there with your prediction, okay? Because Clinton, we could have 10 people pick 34-17. And so we got to have a way to differentiate. Same with Justin, all of you out there. So when you put your prediction in, make sure you put the tiebreaker, and the tiebreaker is passing yards. So let me go ahead and post that in the comments for everybody. And while we're doing that, we'll talk about some of our sponsors as we get ready to have Jason on here in just a few minutes.
Cincy Green, for air that's cool and clean, call on Cincy Green. They are the carrier experts. in the state of Alabama, proud supporters of Auburn athletics and a proud supporter of the Auburn Blitz podcast. With how warm it is outside, you want to make sure you have a reliable unit, and Carrier is going to be that reliable unit that's going to keep you cool throughout the rest of what is supposed to be this fall, but we see it as a pretty warm summer still. And Sensi Green is going to save you thousands of dollars. So who doesn't love to save money?
I love saving money. I know everybody else. I love making money too, but I love saving it too. Scout Program Management, a full construction management firm located in Birmingham, Alabama, saving people, I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars with what they do, taking you from the pre-construction phase to the finished product. And again, they hold people accountable. If you've got a multi-million-dollar project going on in a municipality or an education entity, they're the ones to call. They will take you all the way through the process. And trust me, you better know what you're doing. And most of the time, people don't have the time to do that or have anybody hired to really manage that project. That's why you hire Scout Program Management. Check them out today.
Bunkers in downtown Auburn. We love Bunkers. We talk about them literally every single day, even when we're not on the show, because we have so much fun there and they have such great food, such great happy hour deals. And seriously, when it comes to Brett wanting to whoop my butt in some golf, it is so funny to go out there and just play some golf on the golf simulator bays at Bunkers. So you got to go there and actually have so much fun. The
true golfer just showed up. That's the one that kick all of our tails, Faith. Jason Cwell. He's the real golfer here in this bunch. Isn't that right, Jason?
Maybe it used to be. I don't know. I don't know about right now.
Well, let me tell you, it wouldn't take much to beat me right now. It doesn't matter how long it's been.
My arm doesn't work, so I'm already out of the mix.
That makes it tough.
Yeah,
that does make it harder to play.
Jason, good to see you, buddy. Appreciate you taking time out, man. It's game week. Before we get started, tell everybody where they can go to catch all your stuff, and Nathan, Christian, all the stuff that you guys do over at 24/7.
Yep, like I said, check us out, auburnundercover.com, part of the 24/7 network. And up until kickoff, basically this week, you can still get that 50% off deal. So we've had it all the way through camp. It goes all the way to kickoff this week. So got a few more days to get 50% off of everything we do. And that means a yearly subscription, which includes Paramount Plus. So I know there's folks that watch a lot of things on Paramount Plus. So it gives you that deal as well. So come check us out.
Yeah, that's good stuff, Jason. Yeah, I didn't know that was all involved. So we'll let you hit that up again before you get out of here this morning. You wrote something on Auburn Undercover about 5 questions heading into the season. I won't let you talk about all of those. We want people to go subscribe and read that. But just let's Faith and I have been talking about Jackson Arnold, and I'll kind of give the first one away for everybody if we kind of give a tease. You said, can Jackson be the guy? So we've spent the last 25 plus minutes talking about that. What's your thoughts on that, Jason? Just kind of your rough thoughts, because I think he needs to get in the game. I think practice and scrimmage and all that's great, and we've analyzed, all these things that have gone on in drills. He needs to get in the game and showcase what he can do without the whistle being blown.
Yeah, I think, my thing is I think you're in a position now where you don't have to try to be, just crazy.
Right.
In terms of, you don't have to make a ton of plays. I just think you got enough guys now that just get the ball in the hands of the guys who can make plays. And so I think we've seen the last couple of years, I think when Peyton Thorne did those things, they were pretty good. But when you try to do too much is when you get into problem. And so can Jackson Arnold go, hey, look, I'll take this. And I think hopefully fans will go, like, sometimes the best play for a quarterback is throw the ball away. Nothing's there. Nothing's open. Don't take a sack. Hey, get rid of the ball and start over. We've seen him do some of those things this preseason. And when you watch that as onlookers, and when we get those couple of minutes, that's the only plays we get to see. And so You go, hey, look, had to throw the ball away a couple of times. Well, fans then go, oh, that's not very good. Sometimes that may be a great play. because I do think they're going to have big plays. I think they're going to have explosive plays. I think they're going to do all those things. But I've mentioned it. Can they avoid the catastrophic mistake? It starts at quarterback. Can you avoid those big mistakes, which really last season, those mistakes and missed field goals were the difference in probably winning at least 8 games. And so that's, for me, that's where I start. He didn't have to throw for 350.
Right.
Just can you avoid those mistakes that have been costly?
What does a good night for him look like in your mind, Jason? We've got our tiebreaker on the prediction this week is Jackson Arnold passing yards. And I know, and the reason I did that is because that's all we've talked about is what's that going to look like. So I want everybody to kind of give their thoughts on that. But what does a good night throwing the ball look like? Again, it doesn't necessarily have to be 300 plus yards. It could be whatever, but very efficient, maybe a 23 for 27 night, for whatever. What does it look like to you?
Yeah, I think you look at it, for me, it's no turnovers. That's the first thing. Because I think if you put a 0 up on the turnover margin, if you're Auburn or if you're Jackson Arnold, then you have elevated the chances to win that football game dramatically. So that's where it starts for me. As far as numbers go, a lot of it may depend on, are you able to run the football and how Baylor is going to play? Because I believe if I'm Baylor, you almost have to think about having nickel on the field all day. I mean, you're going to have 5 defensive backs at a minimum on the field all day. So then you start to think about, if you're Auburn, that's going to open up some potential for running game. So I look at it going, hey, if you can be in the 250 range, 230 to 250 range, a couple of touchdowns, no turnovers, and add 40 or 50 yards rushing, you do those things right there, for me, that'd be a really good night. To think about Jackson Arnold against a Baylor team on the road in the opener, I would think that'd be pretty good.
Jason, what are some of the other things that concern you about Auburn going into Friday night?
Yeah, I think I know that this is a really talented defense. There's no question in my mind. But there's still a lot of inexperience on this defense. And so this is a Baylor team that has a ton of experience on offense. I think I counted 7 redshirt seniors on this offense. They've scored points. They got really athletic guys. For me, it's just, can you go in there and not have the bus on defense? And you feel good about it in the secondary. To me, it's the linebacker group. They can play. They're athletic. They're downhill. They're physical. But we've heard Hugh Freeze say a couple of times, look, those guys are so aggressive. They were able to get some big runs because they were so – to me, that's it. Can you play under control, that linebacker group? Because, Robert Woodyard's played some football, but not much. Caleb, Wheatland has played a lot, but not at Auburn in this defense. And DeMarcus Riddick played essentially as a third down linebacker last year. That's it. That's all you got. So for me, having the quarterback run on the other side, to me, the linebacker group may be the group to watch the entire day for me, just because I think they're going to make plays, but can you avoid the mistakes that sometimes come when you're so aggressive? Those guys are going to have to play under control, but they can get the job done. It's just a matter of not trying to do too much. Once again, I think that's the whole. I look at this entire thing Friday night. For me, it's Auburn's like, just don't try to do too much.
Right.
Just play and do the things you're supposed to do.
Yeah, that's kind of what I put at the bottom of the screen today. Too much pressure. I mean, are you thinking too much? Are you trying to do more than you should? Just let the game come to you, and just don't make mistakes, because, again, like you said, Jason, mistakes are going to be made, but it's the team that usually makes the fewest, and obviously the fewest turnovers. If you don't have any, of course, that's great, but those things are really what end up being the determining factor. Now, okay, we've been pretty healthy. I know there's a couple of questions for Auburn, but Baylor lost a big part of their offense. We've talked about it for a couple of weeks, but when Pendergrass went out, and I know he's essentially their second back, and they've got Bryson Washington still is going to be but they were a 1-2 punch, Jason. I mean, And I think somewhere in my mind of strategy in football, they would have loved to have gotten into the second half where they're running and leaning on Auburn. It's going to be in the 90s. Let's be honest. In South Texas, it's going to be hot. They wanted to use that 1-2 punch to run. Now they don't have one of those guys. So that strategy probably goes out the window, and a little bit more pressure on Sawyer Robertson to throw the football. Just what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the strength of this Auburn defense should be in putting if you can put people in third and medium, third and long situations and make them throw the football, that's normally a recipe for success for anybody. I think it's a great recipe for this Auburn defense because of Keldrick Falk and Kieron Crawford and Morris Williams up front. And then the corner group, the secondary group back there, which I think is really talented. To me, that is the recipe for success. So can you force them into third down situations and then get off the field? I mean, that's one thing. But then, I did a 2-minute today, and as I start looking at things, to me, people are like, what's the key stat? Well, obviously, points scored and points allowed is the most. I mean, no other stat matters other than that one if you want to break it down. But in reality, you start going, okay, what's really important? And the more I look at things, the more I think creating turnovers on defense is about as important a stat as you can have, because you give short fields, you might score a touchdown or two. When I think about Alabama and Georgia, and you think about all these offensive guys they've had, the key for those teams has been getting the ball back to the offense because of an opportunistic defense.
Right.
Last year, Auburn only created 13 turnovers. I think there were only 20 teams in the country that had fewer than 13 created turnovers last year. And Auburn's defense was good. But you're like, okay, you got to be better than bend and break. You got to go get the football back. And so for me, that's one of the things I think is going to be vital for this team, because it is really, really difficult to expect an offense to drive 80 yards every time they touch it.
Yeah.
It's not going to do it. And that's what we've seen the last couple of years.
Faith, you and I were talking about penalties. We watched good God, Friday night. I won't even get into that.
I think, you know what though? I think it was almost everywhere. I think they decided, you know what, we're gonna call for not having knee pads covering knees, and then I know another game they had 260 yards in combined penalties in another game I know of. So it was crazy.
I've never seen anything like. I've been calling high school football for 26 years. And I do not remember a game at halftime. It was 9 o'clock. Yeah. Like normally
I was keeping up with it, and I saw it was taking forever.
Well, it's because with every other play there was a stop. And I mean, it was crazy. But with that being said, Faith and I have talked about penalties over the last 3 days enough for a whole season's worth. But that's a big deal. Early in the game, Faith, that's going to be something to watch. You're going to be on the road. This is not in Jordan Hare. It's going to be an electric environment. Baylor's got a lot of height. They're doing is it a charcoal out? It's not really a blackout because they're wearing charcoal.
Drone shows. I mean, they're putting a lot into it. So.
Yeah. But anyway, you can't get caught up in all that, but you can't get behind the chains, put your offense in a situation where it's really, really tough to get a first down and keep drives moving. Faith, we saw it Friday. I hope it doesn't happen this Friday.
Yeah, we saw it Friday for sure. But there was one game last year that Auburn played that there were 0 penalties. And Jason, I'm sure you remember going into that post-game presser, how that's one of the only games that anyone in there could remember talking about not a single penalty. Will Auburn be able to remember how to play like that and how to play so clean and not be able to just kick themselves in the back? Because on Friday night we saw that they started out first or 1 and 15, and they finished 4 and 5. Mm-hmm. And that penalty made the difference of getting a first down.
Yeah. No, I think
is Auburn going to be able to remember not? Can
they just not screw up?
Yeah. Well,
I know you were trying to be nice about it. I'm just going to help you.
But as you saw last week too, some of it depends on what have the talking points been in the off season for officials heading into game 1. Is it going to be, we're going to watch for this? I didn't get to watch a ton of we're only 3 or 4 games last weekend or whatever. But this weekend is one where it really starts to happen. Is it a point of emphasis to call this? And if they do, then they're going to call it. It doesn't matter. And that, to me, when I think about games with no penalties, there are no games with no penalties. It's not happening.
Right.
There might be games where no penalties are called, but there are no games with no penalties. Now, the ones you need to avoid are the dead balls and the 3rd down and 10 pass interference thing. Those are the ones that are killers. But you leave them in offensively, they're all important. Defensively, can you avoid those kind of penalties? Offensively, it's false start on 1st down, 1st and 15, put you behind the chains, makes it really difficult. Those kind of things are really hard to overcome. And so, yes, playing clean is going to be vitally important. This is an Auburn offense that has some veteran pieces on the offensive line, but this is the first time they've ever played together. Xavier Chaplin didn't go through spring. Mason Murphy was at USC. The 3 guys in the middle have been here, but it's the first time they've played together. Eric Singleton hasn't played in a game at Auburn. Jackson Arnold hasn't played in a game at Auburn. It's just the world we live in now.
Yeah.
We got to start to think about it. There's not many places you can go in this country where you go, oh, man, most of those guys have played together for a couple of years. That's long gone. LSU and South Carolina have 2 guys that probably played the most football, and they're both first-year starters coming back for the
year. But we're actually going to be playing a team that can say that, one of the few. Most of their guys on offense are back. Offensive line, receivers outside of Kobe Prentice. Sawyer Robertson, Bryson White. They're all back.
They've got, like you said, transfers that are maybe year 2 or 3, but have been there for a couple of years. And so, that's it. Their offense is more veteran. I think Auburn's offense has an advantage going there against that defense. But all that being said, I still don't think this is a shootout type game. You would seem to go, both offenses may have an advantage. I still don't think it's going to be a game that gets out of the 20s on either side.
Justin said, have we heard much about the right tackle? A little worried about Mason Murphy. Are you concerned with Mason Murphy, Justin?
No, not really. I think he's been pretty solid. And, I talked to a couple of offensive coaches. We were there last week and said, look, when you get to this time in camp, the defense has seen and heard those plays hundreds of times.
Right.
So they know, if it's paying, because we heard Hugh Freeze talking about the drop back game. Well, when it's coming and it's a drop back, 3rd down, everything's different. You know that. But you're also doing different things on offense on 3rd down. If you're just playing a drop back on a 2nd down in a practice and they've seen it 150 times, then they just pin their ears back and go. And so I think Mason Murphy was good in the spring. I think he'll be fine. And so when you start to plan and prep for an opponent, to me, that's when you start to really figure it out. And so you start to scheme, do the things that okay, this is what we're working on. This is what we feel like is good in this situation. In practice, you're like, here's what we're running. Here's what they're running on defense, and you just run it. So I do think that you start to clean things up offensively. But I think Mason Murphy's really talented, and he's one of 6 guys that NFL scouts feel like has a chance to play on the next level, and that's a pretty good starting point.
And this has been our best. We've all 3 said this opportunity at offensive line that we've seen in probably maybe almost 10 years. I definitely since 2017.
Oh yeah, that's the thing I said is I said, look, I think they're better. Can they be dominant? And that's the thing. I think that people think that's the switch. Well, now you're going to go out there and you're going to turn into, the Dallas Cowboys in 1997. It may not happen that quickly.
Right.
You may be better than you were, but that doesn't mean you're going to play without giving up some mistakes and some players. So I think they're better. How much better can they be, and how quickly can it happen?
All right, Jason. Well, man, we appreciate it. I know you're going to try to hook up with us on Mondays like normal. We're just all glad that we're here at football, and we got a game. Odd to say on a Friday, because normally I have a game on Friday every Friday, but it's normally a high school game. But the game for Faith and I on high school will be on Thursday night, so it worked out perfect for us.
I know, and I think Auburn High School and Opelika are both playing Thursday night games too. So there's going to be a lot of folks that'll have a chance to watch this one on Friday. And probably hurts the travel for some folks to try to get out there on a Friday, but looking forward to it. I looked, and I haven't checked today, but I think yesterday the high in Baylor in Waco was 93 on Friday, which means at 7 o'clock you're probably still 85 degrees or more. So it's going to be a little toasty, not quite the weather that folks in Alabama are going to have this week.
Yeah, going to be nice and balmy for sure. Yeah, no doubt about it. So, well, Jason, let everybody know how they can keep up with you. Again, we appreciate you taking time out on Mondays to join us here, and let everybody know how to keep up with you at 24/7.
Yep, check us out. Like I said, auburnundercover.com, part of the 24/7 network. Follow me on Twitter at ITATJason. Subscribe, follow along, and myself, Nathan King, will be out there. We'll be on the road as usual from Waco, and have coverage, videos, photos, all that stuff coming up this weekend.
Looking forward to it, brother. We'll see you tomorrow at practice, and we'll see you out in Waco too, okay?
Sounds good.
Thanks,
see y'all.
Jason.
All right, buddy. See you, man. That's Jason Caldwell with Auburn Undercover 24/7. So glad to have him part of what we do here on Auburn Blitz and jumping in, and just provides great information. Those guys do a lot of writing. You and I don't do a lot of writing. There's nothing for people to go out there and read from us. Just that's why we like 24/7. So go read all the stuff that they're able to put out, and they do a really, really good job, and we appreciate them so very much. Let's talk about some more of our partners here on the program, Faith, because we really like them too, and we really like Old Number One Customs, and Old Number One Customs is downstairs right now, hammering away, tearing stuff out, putting stuff in. I'm trying to stay out of the way. It's all I'm trying to do.
I mean, they're supposed to be in and out in about just 2 weeks, Brett.
Right.
I am so excited to see how your master bathroom looks at the end of all this.
Yeah, call them 334-752-6162 if you need a remodel of a bathroom, kitchen, bedroom, or you want an outdoor living space that's awesome. Everybody's got nice outdoor living spaces now, especially heading into the fall. They'll be the ones to call. Call on them, and they'll hook you up.
Well, you might as well get that JFA Blue Plumbing installation of a Home Atlas water filter duo. And that's going to make sure you've got filtered water throughout your entire house. And guys, it's so important when it comes to your health, not only internally, but also externally, when it's your hair, your skin, everything, your animals, your kids. It's so important to have filtered water, and you don't know the damage it can do to you not having filtered water until it's too late and you've got those medical bills. So a $15.99 installation of Home Atlas water filter duo is nothing when it comes to those medical bills you could potentially have. So call on them at 844-JFA Blue. And Oliver Ross, if you've got a party of 20 or 20,000, it doesn't matter, tailgate, wedding, sorority or fraternity day party, anything, Oliver Ross is going to be the bartending service for you. They are certified and licensed bartenders who are going to come in there, set up their thing. You can focus on all of your hostessing or entertainment, whatever it is, and they're going to be able to just make sure that the bartending is under control, so you don't have to worry about that. They're professionals, so stick with them for all your bartending needs. Absolutely.
Appreciate all of our partners here on the program, and couldn't do it without them. And one more that we want to highlight, our post-game sponsor is Pepper Tree Steaks and Wine, and all of you know that we love Pepper Tree Steaks and Wine. They're not new to our programming. They just added to what they already do, and they're going to be our post-game sponsor. Just like Jason said, they're going to be doing some reaction stuff and videos, but Faith and I are too. We'll be putting some videos out when we get to Waco, a little bit of pregame stuff that we'll post out there. We may go live before the game a little bit before we go into the stadium, and to kind of give everybody an update of how it is out there, kind of how many Auburn fans are out there. May even do a few interviews, may walk around, talk to a few Auburn fans while we're out there and mingle before we go in the stadium. But we're going to be doing a lot of that. And then, of course, our post-game show, Faith, like we said, Pepper Tree Steaks and Wine, every single game. When we get done with the presser and we get set up wherever it is that we're going, it's going to be a little bit different on the road. We'll be a little bit more organized at home, but on the road, we'll find a place and we'll kick it off. And so make sure you have subscribed to our channel. That way you get an alert when we go live, right?
Yeah, and we're actually going to be back at Pepper Tree tomorrow for an on location. And looking forward to going there just right before the season starts.
Man, I mean, anytime we get a chance to go to Pepper Tree Steaks and Wine, we're both smiling. So,
and we've got a special guest that's going to be there tomorrow as well.
Right. You'll just have to tune in to find out who it is. So, looking forward to it. Be over at Pepper Tree. Got practice tomorrow. Got all kind of stuff going on. So excited for it. It's here. Time for some college football. Faith, anything else you got to add today?
No, I'm just looking forward to it. And, it's time. And all we can do is just wait until Friday.
It's like Christmas. Kids at Christmas, right? Like, is it ever going to get here? And then when it gets here, it's gone. And it's like, man, it's flying by. But again, want to thank all of you. I did receive a bunch of texts and a bunch of comments on Saturday and already a few here today about the broadcast on Friday night. We do put a lot of time and effort in. We know we had a little bit of a glitch at the beginning, but again, we were on the road too, and you just don't know what you're going to get. But glad to have Faith part of our crew down there. Sophie did a great job with you down there. They replayed the game last night on TV, so I had a lot of people texting me about that, talking about how great the production was and all, because we have enhanced what we do on our Wildcat Football Network. So, man, it was a lot of fun. Wish we'd have won, but hats off to Opelika, great football team. It lived up to exactly what we all said it was going to. The environment was unbelievable. It was packed. It was standing room only. Opelika, again, they had some mistakes. Ben Russell had some mistakes, but overall, a 25-20 game came down to Benjamin Russell having the ball inside the 25-yard line with a chance to win, and Opelika, held them on fourth down. So, hey, tip your hat.
Yeah, it was a fun game, and it was a great game for it to be my first ever game as a Wildcat. And, a lot of learning curves over here for me, but, I'm just excited to keep getting better and keep just getting the experience with this great team.
Well, we're glad to have you, and we'll be back Thursday for a big one. The statewide game of the week between Benjamin Russell and Central Clay. So that will be, again, one that everybody's eyeballs will be on. So we're looking forward to bringing that to everybody. But we will be on the air again at lunch today. It will be Andy and Jim at noon today. So make sure you tune that in. I'll be over in Auburn for Coach Freeze's press conference this afternoon. And then, of course, we'll be back with you in the morning for another edition of the Auburn Blitz podcast. We appreciate all of you so very much. It's game week. We're ready. We hope you are out there. We sure hope Auburn is. So, all right, Faith, send us out.
I hope everybody has the best day ever and best week ever.
Absolutely. And a big old
War Eagle.